The life of a medieval fisherman is an endless struggle against ruthless nature, the monotony of gray days, and an unending chain of disappointments. In this story, you'll immerse yourself in the grim, realistic daily existence of an ordinary man whose life holds neither romance nor heroism. From the damp dawn in a cold hut to exhausting battles against the sea itself, you'll experience each weary step of the fisherman's journey, feeling all the harshness, danger, and hopelessness of his life. But before you get comfortable, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments which city you're watching from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us today. And now, sit back, relax, and let's begin. You awaken, as always, with a jolt. There is no soft introduction to the day in your world, no gentle whisper of sunlight creeping through gossamer curtains. Instead, reality crashes upon you in the form of the rooster's abrasive crow, a sound so piercing and ruthless it might as well be nature's blunt instrument. Your eyes snap open, irritated already at the thin, harsh light trickling through cracks in your hut's splintered wooden walls, doing nothing to brighten the oppressive gloom within. Slowly, painfully, you sit up on your crude bed, a sack filled unevenly with straw that lost its softness months, if not years, ago. Your back, accustomed to hardship, yet still rebellious, groans in protest. Every morning, it demands that you remember the years spent bent over nets, ropes, and oars. But this is your life, a mundane cycle of discomfort, punctuated occasionally by moments of misery. You rub your eyes with calloused fingers, the skin roughened to the texture of bark, cracked from years of exposure to salt water and bitter winds. You glance around your abode, if it can even be called that. It's a shack made from warped timber scavenged from ships wrecked by storms, roofs mended endlessly with damp straw, moss, and prayers. Rain always finds a way inside, leaving patches of mold blooming vividly in every corner, a silent yet ever present audience to your daily misery. The air is thick, fetid, heavy with the scent of mildew, fish scales, and rotting wood. A rat scurries across the dirt floor, completely untroubled by your presence, as if it knows it holds equal claim to this wretched shelter. You curse softly. Another day, another battle with your only roommate who refuses to leave no matter how vigorously you chase it. Dragging yourself upright, your bare feet sink into the clammy earth beneath you, mud squelching unpleasantly between your toes. You shiver, not just from the cold, but from the profound bleakness of what lies ahead. Dressing slowly in garments stiffened by salt and dirt, you wrap yourself in your heavy woolen cloak, an old grimy thing, frayed and patched a dozen times. It's an ineffective shield against the ever-present damp chill, but better than nothing at all. Outside, the gray sky promises another day as dismal as the last. Your stomach twists hungrily, yet breakfast is more a bitter obligation than nourishment. You break a chunk of yesterday's stale bread, now rock hard, tearing it with your teeth and chewing mechanically, the dry crumbs scraping your throat raw as you swallow. The water you drink from a chipped clay jug tastes as stagnant as the rest of your existence, cloudy and gritty, fetched yesterday from the same shallow well shared by the entire village, an unpleasant blend of dirt and desperation. You do not enjoy this breakfast. It simply exists as fuel, a means to force another day upon yourself. As you eat, you stare numbly out toward the sea. Your village, if such a collection of hovels could truly claim the name, huddles miserably at the edge of an indifferent ocean. Rows of equally decrepit homes cluster on the muddy shore, appearing ready at any moment to collapse entirely into ruin, yet stubbornly resisting even that small mercy. Smoke rises weakly from scattered fires, each tended by people as hopelessly worn down as yourself. There's a monotonous rhythm here: poverty, hunger, toil, and sleep, repeating endlessly, generation after generation, a tradition nobody chose but everyone suffers through. Finally, there is no delaying it further. The day beckons relentlessly. You step out of your shack, feet sinking slightly into the mud and sand mixture that covers everything. The air outside hits you immediately, a cold, clammy slap to your face, carrying with it the overpowering scent of brine and decay. Your eyes water, irritated by salt and wind, as you stumble your way toward the shoreline. Every step brings renewed aches, your knees grinding painfully, your joints stiff, each creak a reminder of the daily punishment inflicted by your profession. Down by the shoreline lies your fishing boat. It sits heavily on the sand, battered and sagging, looking defeated even before it enters the water. You built this boat yourself from scraps years ago, and you know its every flaw intimately. Cracks run through the planks, patches of tar and moss hold it tenuously together. You grimace, already imagining the familiar chore of endlessly scooping water out as it seeps in, us through hidden gaps. The boat is a faithful companion only in the sense that it consistently disappoints in precisely the same ways every single day. With a grunt, you heave the oars onto your shoulder, muscles complaining bitterly. Your fingers ache as you grip the splintered wood, your cracked skin catching painfully on the rough surface. Then come the nets, heavy and unwieldy, piled on the beach like sleeping sea monsters, stinking of rotting vegetation and old fish scales. You gather them up, your arms trembling slightly from the effort, tossing them reluctantly into your boat. Your hands throb painfully, wounds reopened daily by this unforgiving labor, never fully healed, always weeping fresh blood. As you ready your vessel, you glance toward the village once more. Women and children move slowly, performing their morning chores, expressions hollow and resigned. Men like yourself shuffle toward their own boats, nodding grimly in passing. Conversations are brief and empty, mere acknowledgments of mutual misery. Each face tells the same story. This life is heavy, joyless, burdened by survival. No one expects better, they merely endure. Finally, you brace your shoulders, sigh deeply, and push your creaking boat into the surf. The ocean, icy and biting, quickly floods over your feet and legs, chilling you to the bone. Your boat groans, resisting movement, heavy with the accumulated weight of endless disappointments. Yet still you push on, because survival allows no rest, no pity. Clambering aboard, you take the oars in your calloused hands, each stroke pulling you reluctantly away from shore, deeper into the bleak, unforgiving waters that define your life. The village shrinks behind you, a cluster of dark shapes receding into the gray distance, swallowed by mist. Ahead, the endless, turbulent sea stretches infinitely, indifferent to your struggles. You row rhythmically, shoulders aching, back screaming in protest. Already you feel the harsh sting of salt spray biting into your chapped face. You know the ocean will offer no comfort today, nor tomorrow. Instead, it will again test your endurance, your patience, your resolve. And every night you'll return exhausted, empty handed, or nearly so, rewarded only by continued survival. Thus, your day begins anew, another foul smelling dawn followed by a life that is tough, grimy, tedious, and ultimately forgettable. The romance others imagine does not exist here. There is only toil, hardship, and the stubborn refusal of life to grant you any ease or peace. You brace yourself against the frigid wind, resigned to another weary cycle of fishing and disappointment. This, you know too well, is your medieval fisherman's life, endlessly repetitive, cruelly uncomfortable, and as utterly dull as it is bleak. With the shoreline fading into the morning mist behind you, you begin the slow, torturous journey out to the deeper waters. It is a journey that offers no joy, no excitement, only the relentless rhythm of oars plunging into cold, unyielding water. Each stroke requires the effort your exhausted muscles can scarcely afford, yet your arms rise and fall mechanically, propelled not by strength or will, but by a cruel necessity. You stare blankly at the horizon, a dreary smudge of gray merging sea and sky, a perfect reflection of your life's dull, bleak monotony. The sea greets you with its usual indifferent hostility. Waves slap mercilessly against the side of your weary boat, splashing cold seawater over you in a constant, miserable baptism. Salt water trickles down your sleeves, dampens your trousers, and saturates your cracked boots, chilling your feet to numbness. There is no escape from this perpetual dampness, an uncomfortable sensation that has long become a familiar companion, always present, yet never welcome. Your clothing, stiff with salt and grime, clings irritatingly to your skin, chafing and itching incessantly. After a few hundred strokes of the oars, your shoulders scream silently for relief. They have carried these burdens far too many days, stretched beyond their limits by the same monotonous task. Your knuckles are pale from gripping the splintering oar handles, your palms now raw and bloodied. Each pull of the oar sends fresh jolts of pain through your arms, each forward motion demanding a renewed grimace. But stopping is not an option, not when a few more strokes might yield slightly richer waters, an unlikely hope that keeps you rowing despite knowing better. You glance down, noticing seawater seeping in through the familiar cracks of your boat. This is an endless battle you fight daily, a relentless struggle against leaks that refuse permanent repair. You set aside the oars for a brief moment, reluctantly reaching for a battered wooden bucket, scooping out the brackish water pooling steadily beneath your feet. Each scoop is immediately replaced by another surge of water, an endless, pointless dance. You sigh heavily. This chore symbolizes everything wrong with your existence, endless labor that achieves nothing except to maintain a miserable status quo. Returning to rowing, your eyes drift toward the shore, now barely visible, a smudge of darkness in the distance. It feels strangely distant, almost unreal, as though the land itself was a cruel mirage, teasing you with promises of comfort that vanish the moment you approach. The sea, on the other hand, feels brutally real. It rocks your boat steadily, unapologetically, like a ruthless captor shaking its helpless prisoner awake each time you dare dream of escape. Out here, far from land, you have only yourself to rely upon, a grimly inadequate source of comfort. As the sky grows ever darker and heavier with thick, rain filled clouds, you feel an aching dread in your bones. Weather has never been your ally, especially not today. You are acutely aware of how quickly the sea's mood can change from merely indifferent to openly hostile, how a simple breeze can swiftly transform into a tempest capable of tearing your fragile vessel to splinters. Yet still you push further, knowing there is no alternative but risk. Your nets lie piled in the stern, heavy and stubbornly tangled. You pause briefly to inspect them, your heart sinking. Knotted ropes, torn mesh, and clumps of foul smelling seaweed mock your efforts at maintaining order. You groan, reaching in with weary hands to untangle the worst of the mess, fingers catching on frayed knots and rough fibers. Each tug is another small agony, each twist another frustration. Yet you push on, pulling apart knots methodically, knowing every second counts. After an exhausting struggle, your nets finally lie stretched out and ready for casting. Now you must decide when and where to drop them, a gamble with no certain outcome. The water beneath you is murky, as inscrutable as your own uncertain fate, offering no sign of whether fish gather beneath your boat. It is purely guesswork, and your guesses, historically, have rarely been successful. You breathe deeply, salty air stinging your cracked lips, before slowly standing in the swaying boat. Your back aches fiercely, protesting the effort required to lift the cumbersome nets. Your arms tremble as you swing the nets outward in a practiced but agonizingly slow arc, feeling each muscle strain and protest violently against the motion. The nets hit the water with a muted splash, sinking slowly beneath the waves like a resigned prisoner dragged underwater by chains. Now comes another long, weary wait. You sit, watching the sea in brooding silence. The waves, rhythmic and relentless, offer no consolation. Their repetitive slapping against your boat's weakened hull seems to echo your own futile, repetitive existence. The sea cares nothing for your struggles. It merely continues its endless, indifferent dance, oblivious to the lives it holds captive. Minutes stretch into hours, marked only by increasingly bitter winds and a bone deep chill. Your mind wanders through memories, each as gray and indistinct as the sea around you. Days identical in their harshness, seasons distinguished only by the varying intensity of your misery. You think of others back home, trapped in their own cycles of hardship. The realization brings no comfort, merely the bleak acknowledgement that you are not alone in your suffering, that your misery is universal in this place and time. A sudden gust rocks the boat sharply, pulling you from your melancholic thoughts. You shiver violently, realizing how deeply cold has penetrated your bones. The waves, angrier now, churn beneath you with increased intensity, warning of worse to come. Fear twists briefly in your gut as you eye the gathering storm, clouds swollen and angry on the horizon. You know that soon the sea will transform from indifferent to openly hostile. Still, you remain, trapped by necessity, unable to flee from your duty and fate. This is your profession, your curse. Every day brings a fresh battle between your frail vessel and the merciless sea. Every morning demands the same effort, every evening the same disappointment. Yet tomorrow, regardless of today's outcome, you will wake again and row back out into these waters, driven not by choice, but by grim obligation. Your nets drift beneath you silently, uncertainly, and you already anticipate the sting of disappointment when you finally draw them up. Still, for now, there is nothing to do but wait and endure. You shift uncomfortably in your damp seat, pulling your ragged cloak tighter around your shivering shoulders, silently hoping that the sea will grant mercy today, yet fully aware that mercy is one treasure the sea rarely surrenders. And so you sit, cold and weary, staring across the endless waves, resigned to the harsh reality of your medieval fisherman's life. A long journey out to sea that offers no promise, no reward, only the unending rhythm of hardship, disappointment, and grim determination to simply survive another day. The gentle discomfort of earlier hours fades quickly into distant memory as dark clouds churn fiercely above, merging into one uniform ceiling of angry gray. Your unease deepens into a profound dread. The sea, previously indifferent and quietly hostile, now roars awake, unleashing waves that crash with terrifying force against the battered hull of your boat. Each wave brings a fresh spray of icy seawater, each droplet stinging your face like needles, salt burning deep into your chapped and already painfully cracked lips. You clutch the sides of your small vessel, knuckles white, joints aching fiercely, teeth clenched so tightly your jaw feels close to shattering. Every muscle in your body is rigid, strained from hours of rowing and fighting against an ocean that cares nothing about your frailty. Your soaked clothing feels heavy, pulling you downward as if the sea itself conspires to drag you beneath its dark, turbulent surface. Yet, despite your exhaustion, you cannot rest. To rest now is to surrender entirely to the whims of a cruel, pitiless sea. Your gaze shifts nervously to where your nets lie beneath the water. You dread what awaits you, a task that demands all your dwindling strength. Yet, you must begin. Gathering yourself, you brace your feet and grip the coarse ropes tightly, your hands raw and battered from constant abrasion. With an effort that wrings a ragged groan from deep in your chest, you begin the torturous process of hauling in your nets, dragging them inch by painful inch from the depths below. Each tug is a torment. Your muscles tremble and strain, protesting violently against such relentless punishment. Your boat pitches sharply with every violent swell, forcing you to constantly adjust your stance, legs shaking from the strain of maintaining balance. The ropes slip painfully through your fingers, abrading already torn skin. Blood mingles with salt water, adding yet another layer of misery to your struggle. But still you continue, driven only by desperation and the grim realization that failure means starvation. As the nets slowly surface, your heart sinks deeper into hopelessness. The catch is pitifully meager, a few small fish, barely large enough to feed even yourself, let alone provide coin for your family's survival. Amidst the tangled mass of nets, worthless sea creatures squirm and writhe, ugly, inedible things. Pale eels, with eyes like black beads, spiny crabs snapping angrily, blobs of gelatinous creatures you can neither identify nor sell. You curse bitterly, recognizing the cruel humor in this miserable harvest. The sea offers no charity, rewarding your exhausting labor with mocking indifference. But before despair fully sets in, a gust stronger than before slams into your boat, nearly sending you tumbling overboard. You desperately clutch at the splintered wood of your boat's rail, your heart thundering with panic. The storm you feared is now upon you in full force, as if nature itself decided to punish your foolishness for daring to challenge the sea's authority. Thunder crashes overhead, a terrifying sound that rattles your chest. Lightning illuminates the dark sky, throwing ghastly, unnatural shadows across the waves. Fear grips your gut as you look into the raging sea around you, black, merciless water, now rising and falling like a beast disturbed from deep slumber, eager to claim you as another victim. You are suddenly acutely aware of how utterly insignificant your small boat is in comparison to this immense violent force. In a panic, you scramble to secure your nets, your numb fingers fumbling helplessly over the ropes. Each passing second makes your task more dangerous, your movements increasingly frantic and desperate. Waves surge higher, crashing over your vessel, filling it rapidly with seawater. Grasping your bucket, you furiously scoop water out, muscles burning painfully with every frantic movement. Yet it is hopeless. The sea fills the boat faster than you can empty it. Your breath comes in short, shallow gasps, each filled with the bitter realization of your rapidly diminishing odds of survival. You glance toward land, now completely invisible behind a wall of rain and mist. Isolation consumes you, the crushing weight of loneliness more oppressive even than the storm. No one can help you here. No prayers or pleas will be heard over the screaming winds. You are utterly, irretrievably alone, forced to rely entirely on your waning strength and fading courage. Another monstrous wave crashes over the boat, knocking you violently to your knees. Salt water fills your mouth, choking you, burning your throat and lungs as you cough and sputter desperately for air. Your heart pounds wildly in your chest, a frantic rhythm fueled by raw fear. You scramble to your feet once more, clinging to life with stubborn desperation, knowing that one mistake, one misstep, means plunging beneath the waves, never to surface again. Memories flash rapidly through your mind. Your damp hut, cold meals, monotonous days, miserable nights. Strange that such an unpleasant existence now seems desperately precious, infinitely preferable to the terrifying finality of drowning. Yet, even as terror grips you, an odd clarity emerges amidst the chaos. You realize this is the grim reality of your chosen life. Each day spent at the mercy of nature's cruel unpredictability, each moment overshadowed by mortal danger. This battle is not unique. It repeats endlessly, yet today it seems especially brutal, especially final. As if sensing your despair, the storm increases its fury. The sky darkens to near blackness, wind screaming around you with relentless ferocity. Your battered boat groans ominously beneath you, the wooden planks creaking and splintering, as though warning you of imminent surrender. Still, you cling desperately, stubbornly refusing to accept defeat, though your strength wanes rapidly. Suddenly, with horrifying finality, a great wave lifts your vessel skyward, briefly suspending it in terrifying weightlessness. Then, with brutal efficiency, it plunges downward into the churning sea below, water crashing violently over you. You scream, your voice lost entirely beneath the storm's deafening roar as the world spins around you. Panic consumes you, but beneath that panic lies a weary resignation. You have fought this battle too many times, lost too many times to believe in victory now. Yet somehow, impossibly, your boat remains afloat. You cling to its rail, trembling violently, soaked and freezing, but still alive. The sea, apparently bored with tormenting you, begins to slowly relent. The waves, though still angry, gradually lose their murderous intent. Rain slackens slightly, wind retreats marginally, and you feel a flicker of cautious hope rekindle within your chest. Slowly, painfully, you straighten yourself, muscles trembling from exhaustion and cold, body battered and bruised beyond measure. Your nets, ripped and tangled, lie uselessly at your feet, mocking your efforts. The sea has won again, as it always does. Yet today, at least, it has allowed you to survive, battered, weakened, humiliated, but alive. You turn slowly, gazing back toward land, still shrouded in storm clouds, but vaguely visible now, promising eventual relief. With shaking hands, you grip the oars once more, forcing yourself toward shore. Each stroke aches terribly, but every painful movement draws you closer to safety, closer to another day. Yet, even as land inches nearer, you understand with grim clarity your battle with the sea never truly ends. Tomorrow will bring the same hardship, the same danger, the same weary struggle. Still, today's victory, bitterly won, painful and temporary though it may be, is enough to carry you onward. Your life is this: a never ending battle with a sea indifferent to your existence, fighting not for victory, but for the mere chance to endure another day of your brutally exhausting, painfully realistic, utterly unromantic existence as a medieval fisherman. Land greets you not with comfort, but with cold indifference, a bleak shoreline shrouded in mist that hangs heavily above the village like a perpetual shroud. Your exhausted arms guide the boat toward the muddy shore, muscles screaming from fatigue, trembling hands barely able to hold on to the worn wooden oars. With a dull scraping sound, the boat runs aground, lodging itself into the gritty sand. You sit unmoving, unable to gather the strength to rise, dreading the next part of this endless cycle. The village appears exactly as you left it, hopeless, gray, and unchanged. Yet now, after your brutal struggle with the sea, it feels strangely foreign. Stepping onto shore, your numb legs buckle slightly, unaccustomed again to solid ground after hours of constant motion. You stagger slightly, cursing quietly as seawater sloshes out of your boots, adding yet another layer of discomfort. The storm's memory clings to you, a chill embedded deep within your bones, impossible to shake even now. Turning back toward the boat, you regard your pitiful catch with weary bitterness. What remains of your nets is a hopeless tangle of torn threads and broken ropes, and within it, barely enough fish to justify the day's toil. You lift the net slowly, shoulders and back aching fiercely, feeling humiliation heavy upon your heart. Today's haul mocks you, a cruel joke played by a sea that seems determined to strip away every last shred of dignity you possess. Gathering your miserable bounty, you trudge toward the marketplace, dread intensifying with each heavy step. The path is muddy, slick from the endless drizzle that saturates the earth, squelching beneath your feet in a dismal rhythm. Around you, other fishermen return with similarly bleak faces, shoulders hunched, heads bowed beneath the weight of their own failures. Each passing nod or grunt is a weary acknowledgement of mutual despair. The marketplace itself is a grim collection of ramshackle stalls and weathered faces, filled with villagers whose lives revolve entirely around grim survival. Their eyes, dull, resigned, hungry, offer no sympathy, merely recognition of your shared plight. You approach the fishmonger slowly, heart heavy, the weight of repeated failure settling upon you like a damp cloak. He eyes your catch impassively, barely masking disdain. This merchant, fat from years of profiting off your toil, knows you need him far more than he needs you. His gaze moves slowly, critically, over the fish you offer, lingering deliberately on their small size and number. Not much today, is there? He drawls with casual cruelty, prodding one tiny fish disdainfully. You bite back a bitter retort, pride swallowing painfully as you nod reluctantly. Storm came up, you mutter, your voice hoarse and tired. The merchant grunts dismissively, as though the hardships you face daily mean nothing to him, and they don't. I can only offer a few coins, he finally says, shrugging carelessly, indifferent to the crushing disappointment his words bring. They're hardly worth anything at all. You nod slowly, resigned, understanding clearly your lack of choice. The paltry coins, fewer than needed even to feed your family adequately, drop coldly into your palm. As he turns away to richer clients, laughter echoes harshly around you, mocking your pitiful earnings. Anger flares briefly, quickly fading beneath an overwhelming, familiar hopelessness. You turn from the marketplace, clutching your meager earnings, dreading the return home. Your family's hopeful eyes, hungry stomachs, and unspoken disappointment await you, a judgment harsher than any merchant's sneer. The rain, once gentle, now falls steadily, soaking through your clothes, deepening the chill that grips your bones. Walking slowly along the muddy paths back to your hut, you pass neighbors caught in similar daily struggles. Farmers whose fields yield little but weeds and despair. Blacksmiths whose fires burn weakly beneath the heavy sky. Children playing listlessly, their thin bodies revealing chronic hunger. All around, the village exists beneath the crushing weight of poverty, an endless cycle no one escapes, no matter how tirelessly they fight. Upon reaching your hut, the sight of its ramshackle walls, dripping roof, and filthy interior fills you with weary resignation. You enter quietly, ashamed of your small bounty, avoiding the eyes of your family. They gather silently around you, your wife's eyes sad but resigned, your children hungry but silent, accustomed already to disappointment. You place the coins gently on the table, shame flooding you once more. Dinner that night is painfully sparse. Thin soup, scraps of fish too small to taste, crusts of stale bread softened in broth. Your family eats quietly, each spoonful taken slowly, deliberately, savoring what little nourishment is available. Guilt gnaws at your chest, deepening the ache of your tired muscles and battered body. The storm may have allowed you to survive, but survival without hope or comfort feels like little victory at all. After dinner, you step outside once more, escaping briefly into the chill night. Your nets require mending, a task as repetitive and unending as all others. In the dim glow of a smoky lantern, your hands work automatically, slowly repairing torn threads, stitching together hope alongside damaged rope. Each stitch pricks painfully, fingers raw and tender, reminders of today's harsh battles. Around you, the night settles heavily over the village, muffling sounds, blurring shapes, creating a world of shadows and vague silhouettes. Wind whistles mournfully through broken planks, rustling the damp straw roofs above. Distant voices murmur faintly, echoes of your neighbors' shared hardships, reminders you are not alone in your struggle, though the thought offers little solace. As you sit, fingers working mechanically through damaged nets, you reflect bitterly on your existence. Each day is identical in its misery, waking exhausted, laboring until near collapse, returning with barely enough to scrape by, falling into restless sleep. Your life is a ceaseless cycle of effort, pain, disappointment, and quiet desperation. The sea takes more than it gives, your work demanding more than you can endure. Yet somehow you endure nonetheless, driven not by hope, but sheer stubbornness. The night deepens, darkness swallowing your tired form, hunched over torn nets. Fatigue weighs heavily upon you, yet rest remains distant, denied by necessity and duty. Tomorrow you must rise again, face the same harsh sea, the same indifferent merchant, the same disappointed faces. And though the knowledge exhausts you utterly, you know you will rise anyway, driven forward by a force stronger than despair, grim, relentless survival. Finally, unable to continue, you set your nets aside, rising stiffly from your seat. Entering the hut once more, your eyes adjust slowly to the darkness inside. Your family sleeps fitfully, restless dreams visible on pale, drawn faces. Guilt tightens your chest again. Your inability to provide better weighs heavily upon you. Climbing into bed beside them, your body aches deeply, muscles protesting every movement. Sleep claims you slowly, grudgingly, haunted by visions of storms, empty nets, sneering merchants, and relentless hardship. Yet even in sleep, rest is denied. Your dreams filled with endless toil, crashing waves, and hopelessness. Thus passes another day, indistinguishable from countless others. Your existence, monotonous in its cruelty, repetitive in its pain, continues unabated. Catch and loss. Two words that summarize entirely your life's unending cycle, a brutal rhythm from which escape seems impossible. Yet tomorrow will come again. You will rise once more, stubbornly facing a sea determined to break you, driven not by hope nor bravery, but simply the relentless, unforgiving necessity of surviving another day as a medieval fisherman. The darkness that envelops your tiny shack is oppressive, almost physical in its weight. It clings to you, damp and heavy, a constant reminder of the hopelessness permeating every corner of your life. Outside, the wind moans softly, seeping through gaps in the walls, causing the flame of your single candle to flicker weakly. Shadows dance across the walls, their movements slow and weary, mirroring your exhausted spirit. Dinner's pitiful remnants still linger in the air: stale fish, rancid oil, damp bread. Even in your sleep, your senses recoil at the familiar, ever present stench. But hunger forces acceptance. Your meal was no feast, merely survival, coldly practical and flavorless. You glance at the cracked wooden table where your family sat in silent resignation just an hours before, every face pale and drawn, burdened by shared hunger and unspoken frustrations. Your children sleep restlessly in the corner of the cramped hut, curled together for warmth beneath ragged blankets. Their breathing is uneven, occasionally broken by weak coughs brought on by damp air and poor food. You watch them quietly, guilt pressing sharply in your chest. They never chose this harsh life, yet here they are, inheriting your struggle, your endless battle for survival against an unforgiving world. Beside you, your wife lies silently. She sleeps, or perhaps she simply pretends to, unable or unwilling to discuss the day's failures any longer. Your heart aches, knowing how thoroughly disappointment fills her days, how little you can offer to ease her burdens. Every word you share is tinged with weariness, every touch a reminder of how tired you both have grown, of each other, of this existence of endless hardship. Yet somehow, together, you persist, driven only by a muted determination to see another morning. You lie awake on your straw filled mattress, feeling every harsh strand poking painfully into your back. This bed, a relic of discomfort, grants no relief. You shift restlessly, trying to find a tolerable position, but comfort eludes you. Outside, distant waves still crash against the shore, a relentless, mocking reminder of tomorrow's inevitable hardships. A chill creeps steadily beneath your blanket, burrowing deep into your bones, mingling with the fatigue that never truly fades. Closing your eyes, your thoughts drift inevitably toward tomorrow. Your mind fills with visions of cold gray skies, endless waves, heavy nets, and aching muscles. Anxiety tightens your chest as you imagine the coming morning, another dawn spent forcing yourself out into freezing water, battling exhaustion, weather, hunger, and disappointment. You know exactly what awaits you, precisely how miserable each task will be, and how little reward will come from your relentless effort. Yet you cannot escape this cycle. The reality of your life is a series of repeating miseries. The nets will break again, your boat will leak, your back will ache, your catch will be too small. Each day, you will stand before the same merchant, endure the same disdainful judgment, and return home with barely enough coins to sustain your family's meager existence. Nothing will change. This is your grim certainty. Sleep still does not come easily. Each passing hour feels painfully slow, filled with the distant sounds of the village at rest. Quiet murmurs, occasional coughing, animals stirring uneasily. The candle sputters one last time before extinguishing entirely, plunging you fully into darkness. The hut's silence deepens, the cold intensifies, and your mind slips unwillingly toward darker thoughts. You wonder bitterly how much longer your body can endure this punishment, how many more storms you can survive, how many more empty nets you can pull from the sea before your spirit shatters completely. You briefly entertain the notion of escape, of abandoning this village, these endless labors, starting somewhere new, somewhere warmer, kinder, less cruel. But even as the thought flickers through your mind, it fades beneath the crushing realization that poverty and hardship will follow wherever you go. You are trapped, not by geography, but by circumstance, by birth, by fate itself. Your eyelids grow heavier, weariness finally overtaking your restless mind. Sleep drags you under reluctantly, accompanied by fragmented dreams filled with crashing waves, tangled nets, indifferent merchants, and the harsh laughter of villagers who suffer no less but mock none the less. You toss fitfully, limbs twitching as if still battling invisible currents, hands grasping at phantom ropes, searching endlessly for something firm, something reliable, something that promises relief, yet always eludes your grip. The night passes slowly, uneasily. Dreams blur together, becoming indistinct and unpleasant memories of endless cycles of waking, working, failing, sleeping, repeating. You wake briefly, drenched in cold sweat, heart pounding from half remembered nightmares. The hut remains dark and silent, your family's breathing quiet and rhythmic, reassuring, yet heartbreaking. You close your eyes again, desperate for respite from consciousness, from awareness, from life itself. Morning arrives abruptly, rudely. The rooster's crow pierces your uneasy sleep, jolting you awake, your heart racing with instinctive dread. Your body protests sharply as you rise, every joint aching fiercely, muscles stiff and sore from yesterday's exertions. Your hands, cracked and bloodied, tremble slightly, resisting movement. You sit briefly, gathering strength, fighting back tears born from exhaustion and despair. But daylight allows no indulgence in self pity. Your family stirs around you, each movement slow, painful, and inevitable. Breakfast, another meal of stale bread and watery broth, awaits, offering no nourishment beyond basic survival. You chew mechanically, tasting nothing, feeling nothing beyond emptiness. Outside, dawn breaks cold and unwelcoming. Gray clouds hang low, promising yet another bleak, punishing day at sea. You rise slowly, wrapping yourself in the same damp, tattered cloak you've worn countless times. Your eyes meet your wife's briefly, a silent apology exchanged wordlessly. Your children watch you quietly, understanding already how little joy awaits any of you. Stepping outside, the chill grips you fiercely, wind slicing mercilessly through your worn clothing. Around you, other fishermen emerge reluctantly, each face lined with identical misery, each step hesitant, yet inevitable. A few grumbled greetings pass between you, words unnecessary when shared hardship binds you so intimately. You approach your boat, lying heavily on the sand, patched and barely seaworthy. Your nets, hastily repaired, lie coiled in the stern, awaiting another day's futile labor. Your body screams silently, begging you not to endure this again. Yet, somehow, you force yourself forward. Your feet sink slightly into cold, wet sand. Every step a small defeat, a quiet surrender to necessity. As you shove your boat into the surf, cold water flooding your boots, soaking through your clothing once again, you pause briefly. The sea stretches endlessly before you, vast, indifferent, hostile. It has taken from you more than it has ever given, yet every morning you return, demanding nothing more than survival itself. You climb aboard heavily, gripping the splintered oars with trembling hands, forcing yourself toward deeper waters, knowing exactly what awaits you: hardship, discomfort, danger, and disappointment. Yet onward you row, not because you choose to, but because you must. Your life is defined by necessity, by endless repetition of misery and hardship. And as you vanish into the gray horizon, another day begins, indistinguishable from yesterday, identical to tomorrow, relentless in its cruelty and predictability. This, you reflect bitterly, is your life: harsh, monotonous, without romance, poetry, or respite, only survival, only endurance. Another night, another tomorrow.